Hi everyone, I'm Caroline Stevens and this is another episode of Let's Talk. So this week I've got a very special guest. Well, I say that every week because every guest is special. But this week we've got a man who's very talented. He's a MD, musical director. He's a fantastic pianist, a brilliant singer, and he does the best Billy Joel tribute I've ever seen and heard, which he did in my bar in Spain a couple of years ago, and it was amazing and everybody loved it. So this week we're talking to Andy Mudd. So let's talk. Hi, Andy.
Hello, Caroline. How are you, love?
I'm good. How are you, darling?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah. No complaints this end.
You're like me with these headphones in.
I know I've never used them before, these.
I hate
I've
them.
never used them. I've never used them.
I know. They're all, I don't like them. I know they're murder. Anyway, Andy, tell us a little bit about, how you've been during this pandemic.
I think I've coped better than a lot of other people in our industry, if truth be known. And the main reason is I've got a studio, as you know. So it's kept me sane, really. I mean, my studio's done the rounds over the years. Just a bit of the background for it. I set it up 1995. So what's 20?
Nearly 20 years.
More than that, isn't it? 26 years ago.
95, yeah.
Yeah, 26 years ago.
Blimey.
So basically,
that just tells you that I'm shit at maths.
Well, yeah, thinking on your feet, love, thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
So I basically set it up 1995 in a spare bedroom in my house. And then I had a loft conversion done. So I moved it into the loft conversion. I had it purposely built. And then obviously started a family. And when my youngest lad were born, I decided to move it away from the house. So I got a unit and I was there for 16 years. And then I moved out of there and we moved the whole studio into Joe Longthorne's house. Because obviously with Joe's health issues, it enabled him just to basically get out of bed, come downstairs and do a bit of recording. And so it suited us both, really. Yeah. So it suited us both, really. And because Joe was so passionate about music, he loved me going up there, doing my own things that I had to do and just listening to things. And he'd often sit in the garden while I'd be putting stuff together for different shows and stuff. And he used to, we'd have a chat. And I was putting an 80s show together a couple of years ago, just before he passed away. And I'd go and have a cup of tea with him in the garden. He'd go, "Oh, that song," he said, "that was so-and-so, so-and-so, wasn't it? Did that come out in 1983? And I'd go, "Yeah." And he'd say, "What was it, 1983? And he'd reminisce of where he was in his career, at what year. And, so it was great to hear them stories with him. And then sadly, obviously, as we know, Joe passed away and the studio stayed in the house. And I managed last year to mix the last album that we did. And we got that out last year. So that kept me busy. And then it was a case of, right, I need to do something with the studio now. And so I brought it back home because the original loft conversion became my lad's bedroom.
Right.
My daughter moved out, so her bedroom became free. So I said, right, you're moving out of here. I'm going to rebuild it as the studio. So I did a bit of, acoustic tiled it, as you can see in the background, all that. And I managed to bring the studio back. So I've kept quite busy and kept focused with things during the lockdown. So I've had things to do. And that's helped tremendously, I think, really, really helped.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think. Brilliant. Yeah, so I think if I didn't have this, I think by now I'd probably be going a little bit insane, if truth be known, love.
Yeah, I was just going to say that to a lot of my friends, musicians and people have just, first time in their life, they're suffering with depression, anxiety. And I mean, understandably so, but I think it's, if you've got a studio in your home, like we have here, then you can, go and use it whenever you want. People, I mean, Dave's still doing productions. We've got 3 singles, different artists coming out this month.
Excellent.
That have been recorded by, everybody in their own studios, home studios, and musicians. It's all live musicians. And some of the stuff isn't all live. So some of the production work has all been just done here. But, the advantage of having your home studio is the benefits are amazing, because some of the guys that I've worked with in the past and still do, musicians, singers who don't have home studios, they're just going ballistic. They're going mad.
They are. I mean, I've got a waiting list at the minute. I think of about half a dozen people want to come in here, obviously when restrictions ease, to come and record and do some albums. We've done an original song with a friend of mine. I've laid the track down. Well, I think we've had the track laid down now for a good month. We've sent it off to his son who's in Las Vegas. And his guitarist is putting a guitar track down on it to send back to me, and things like that. So he's like, he messaged me the other day. I said, look, you're top of the list. As soon as restrictions ease and I can have people round, then we'll get going with it, So I've got a bit of a waiting list for that, which is good.
Yeah, but you know what? It's similar to us. We've got a guy who's we've done all the production. He's just got to come here and do his lead vocals. So it's been really, really tough. But anyway, look, we are still here to tell the tale, and we're still working, thank God. And tell me, how did you get into doing the Billy Joel tribute? Because it's the best Billy Joel tribute I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've always been a fan. I've always been a fan of Billy Joel since 1984. I saw him on live TV. The BBC put a live concert out from Wembley Arena in 1984. And fortunately, my father, who's no longer here, God rest his soul, he recorded it for me. And I'd been out and I was only 16. And I come home and he said, if you think you can play the piano, watch this. And he put it on, made me a cup of tea. And I sat and I was like, oh my God. And I was hooked on that concert. And the next thing I went out, I bought all the albums and sort of it became not like obsessed, but I was like fascinated with his writing. I started to read a lot about him, really like dug deep and, about his career, his writing. And then I found out that a lot of I'd say all of his songs that he's written is actually lived the songs. So I found that interesting as well, because if you listen to Billy Joel songs, every song tells a story.
It does.
He's wrote about everything, about places, about industries, about relationships, about his mother.
Do you have a favourite? Do you have a favourite? I mean, I know that's a hard question because they're all great, but do you have a personal favourite that, one, you love to listen to, or two, you love to sing?
I always say, if I had to go to a desert island with one Billy Joel song, I think it would have to be Scenes from an Italian Restaurant.
Wow. Great. Great songs. Great songs.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I was going to ask you to do some today, but you're not set up, are you?
Not really, no.
Still, everybody, if you're on Facebook, you can go to Andy Mudd's Facebook page and send him a friend request, which I'm sure they'll accept. And every week he's doing a show from his studio, which I've watched, and is getting quite popular, isn't it? Your once a week shows.
Well, I'll do it twice a week actually. I've been doing it Thursday. Yeah, Sunday and Thursdays. Yeah, Sunday and Thursdays I do it at 8:00. Yeah, I've got a bit of a sort of following with it now, which is good. And
that's great.
I mean, I did it originally for me. Just for something to focus
something
on.
To do,
Something to think, right, I've got a show on a Thursday, I've got a show on a Sunday. So I've been preparing things, I've been learning new songs, which has been great. Otherwise, I would never have learned new songs, I think I've learned more songs in this last few months than I have in my whole career, because I've had to do different things on the show.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about it is I've brought a community together, and they interact with each other during the show.
Yeah.
And that's been a really nice thing for me. It's been like the bonus and the messages that I've received from people to say, Andy, we can't wait till Thursday, we can't wait till Sunday. You're really lifting our spirits in lockdown, So that's been that's a nice feeling.
Don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody needs some form of, social contact, which is what none of us are getting now. But what you're doing on a Thursday and Sunday, it brings people together. They're getting
it does,
although it's not face to face, it's still social contact.
Yeah, you see a lot of these people that come on that show. I mean, a lot of them was like Joe Longthorne fans that I've got to meet over the years, and these people love going to see shows. Yeah, and they support theatre. So love it. Yeah, so they've not been out for a long time. They've not seen anything. So for me to be able to do that on a Thursday and a Sunday for them, it's like the highlight of their week, which is it's giving me a nice feeling, great. And just that I'm bringing joy to people is such a nice feeling,
how do you think it's going to be when everything opens up again? I think people are going to go crazy for live shows.
Yeah, I think they're going to go mad for live shows.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing, providing, we can get rid of the social distancing, because as long as this social distancing stays in place, that's going to make things tricky, as
I think what I read somewhere was that they're thinking of trying some sort of thing where people, this new test they've got, which it gives you a result like in 10 minutes or something. I think they're talking about, I mean, they want to get the theatres and live shows going, but they're talking about testing people, before they go in. That might work. I'm not sure.
That could work, yeah.
And
see, the thing is, I mean, sorry, carry on.
No, go on. I was going to say, so if you've got, you've got a high temperature, or you obviously couldn't go in, and you'd have to get refunded on your ticket. But everybody who's negative can go, and I would think that most people would be negative, because if you didn't feel well, you wouldn't be going out, would you?
No. See, the problem we've got with this virus, I've heard different scientists saying different things, and the key thing they say about this virus, how clever it is. Every other virus that we've experienced, like you get, say you get the flu, you initially feel unwell, don't you?
You do.
So you initially self-isolate yourself by going back to bed, thinking, oh, I feel awful today, I'm going to go back to bed or get on the settee. The clever thing about this virus is people can carry it and have no symptoms.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we've had.
Well, I had it way back in March last year.
Right.
And Dave never got tested because they said he would definitely have it if I had it, But again, like you said, he was asymptomatic. He never had one symptom, not one. But obviously we both still self-isolated. I didn't have it as bad as a lot of people. Obviously I didn't need to be hospitalized, but I had like a bad, that real bad flu where you can't get out of bed. It was kind of like that, but maybe a couple of times worse. But you're right. Some people have got it and it's like they're asymptomatic, so they're not showing any symptoms.
And that's the problem we've had, with it, you know what I mean? Because like I said, they walk around passing it on without even knowing it.
That's why they should be wearing masks.
Yeah. And that's the other problem we've had, people not abiding by the rules, And the other thing, which has really wound me up, and I'm sure other people, when like us, they're being affected by it, like financially, all your work stops. You can't do what we've done for the last 30, 40 years.
No.
And then you've got the other side of the coin where people have been furloughed. People stay at home. It's not affected them one bit financially. And they've actually, some of them have preferred it and gone, oh, I'll have a bit more of this. I'm being paid to stay at home, basically. The longer it goes on, the better. And that's the other problem we've had. I mean, when Blackpool last year, for example, when we had all that lovely weather, Blackpool was shut. It was packed with day trippers.
Well, I was there in September. We Dave and I came down for the lights. Just overnight, and stayed in this sort of little B&B place. And it was packed. It was packed with people, but not everything was open.
No. And, that wound me up a little bit, I'm thinking, what's the point in all this? The place is shut. Yeah. And again, the reason why it was because these people are being furloughed and think, oh, come on, let's have a trip to the seaside. So that wound me up a little bit.
Gets me a little bit, and I've discussed this with other guests, musicians and performers on this show. I never like to do politics on this show. I just don't, but I will do this one. There was a whole campaign, I think last September, October, where the government had said to all musicians, singers, bands, we're sorry if you are self-employed and you don't have the right account paperwork, you can't be furloughed, whatever. So you're not getting nothing. Just get universal credit or get a new career.
Yeah.
They had posters at bus stops with pictures of ballerinas on it saying, if you were a dancer, now you can train to do something else. But you try telling a musician who's got it in their heart and soul music.
Oh, no.
And that's all they've done for like 30, 40 years to go and train to be a plumber. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I read a bit more into that message. I thought that they know something that we don't.
Well, you never know. You never know.
Mm.
You never know. That's
I
why
thought straight away,
I feel sorry for bands and musicians, who just can't get out there and work. I mean, unlike yourself and me, we do have another, something to do. Like you've got your studio at home, so you're doing production work. David and I have got that too, and we've got our online PR company, of course. But for just people who just sing, musicians who just play and have got nothing else, no studio at home. I mean, what's going to happen to them if they can't get out?
I know.
Work?
Yeah.
It's awful.
Exactly.
It's awful.
Yeah. And I also think, there's a lot of people that have got other jobs now. Most of them are doing driving for Amazon, etc.
Loads of them. Loads. I mean, Amazon must be thousands upon thousands of drivers. Everybody I know has become an Amazon driver.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy. I've I know friends that are like they're either driving for Amazon, Hermes, Just Eat, or the care workers.
That's it.
And are these people going to pack that in to go back to, or are they going to carry on doing what they're doing now?
Well, you know what? If the gigs are not coming in regular, so that they can, be secure that they're going to get a regular monthly wage, they may not even bother going back. They might just stay doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that is exactly. It, isn't it? That is it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just been a real bad time for everybody. I mean, what has really peed me off more than governments or things like that is ignorance. I follow a lot of your posts on Facebook, and I have to say that they are really transparent. I don't always agree with you, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. And the ignorant, I mean, I've had to delete people off my Facebook, people that I thought that I really knew well. Through this pandemic, I've actually had to block them because the crap that comes out of their mouths. This is a conspiracy. This is not real. This government has made it up. And I mean, what is all that about?
I've got a few of them like myself. I mean, what I've done with this, and I'm not proud to say this, but I have called it right from day one. All the way from day one, I've called it right every time. Because what I tend to do, I've watched every briefing that's been done, mainly, obviously, the ones by Boris. And what I do then is I read between the lines of things, so I can sort of, not as though I'm a fortune teller or anything, but I can sort of say, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think this is going to happen yet.
That could be a new career for you, fortune teller. On the pier.
Yeah. I went to one the other week. It said closed due to unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah.
But it's like, here's another example. When Boris did this roadmap, his key words from the beginning of the year has always been, whatever we do now, we're going to have to do it really cautiously, because they have made mistakes in the past. This help out, eat out to help out. All that nonsense, you can have a drink, but you've got to have a burger with it. And that obviously hasn't worked. And I look at people getting giddy and excited. And even now, I don't think people can really plan on things because it's a roadmap. And you know what a roadmap is. In the old days, when we used to set out to do a gig, let's say you're going A to Z, you get your map out and you go, right, I've got to go from there to there. Right. Providing traffic's okay, I should get to my destination in 4 hours, say. Now, if there is incidents along the way, it might put another hour, a couple of hours on the journey. So I'm going to have to allow for that. And this is what this roadmap is. And this is what Boris keeps saying. These key dates that he's mentioned, providing everything goes to plan, will happen.
Nothing is set in stone, is it?
No. Because so I saw people.
It can't be. It can't
be
set in stone. We're in a
they're saying
it can't be.
Yeah, they're saying that provided everything goes to plan, these dates will happen. If it doesn't, they will have to move these dates.
Yeah.
So I saw people online the night that Boris mapped out the roadmap. Within half an hour, I've got people on Facebook saying, "Can't believe my phone's melting. I've got a full diary," and I'm going, "No, you haven't. How can anybody book anything yet? Because it's not set in stone." Exactly. And I still see people now advertising things and like close to these dates. I'm thinking, how can you book things? How can you commit to things? Because it can change. Yeah.
I mean, all these holiday companies now offering, the cheapest flights possible for Spain, Italy, Greece, anywhere. I mean, I wouldn't want to book a holiday. I mean, they say that you book it now, and if you can't travel, you'll get a refund. Well, you can wait months to get your refund. And besides,
exactly,
even if it was free tickets, I wouldn't want to go anywhere now at this moment in time.
I think the other thing as well, people do forget, and I know that it preys on people's mental health and that, but people forget there's actually a virus out there. And if you get it bad, I've had 3 friends that have had it really bad. I've had one that was on death's door with it. He was hospitalized for 12 days with it. And he thought that was the end, And this is what people tend to forget. There is actually a virus out there. And if it gets you, it can get you. And it can, unfortunately, it's, look at the deaths that we've had. And people forget that.
I will know that because I lost my brother to COVID in November.
Of course you did, Caroline. Yeah, of course you did. So and this is what...
It was horrible, horrible.
And it annoys me that these people that, think it's not real and they just want to get back to normal. Well, come on, there's actually a pandemic and people are unfortunately dying from it. So that annoys me as well,
And conspiracy theories.
Yeah. You see, what they do as well is the key message to this, and people don't get this, is it's all been about saving and protecting the NHS. So the NHS doesn't get overwhelmed. You've got these other idiots that come on. Well, what about cancer? What about this? Well, cancer is a terrible disease. But the fortunate thing with cancer is not everybody gets it at once. And the hospitals don't get overwhelmed at once. No. Where with this, my friend's son had it the other month. He went to A&E with it. And this is my friend that nearly died with it as well. So he knew straight away. He went, come on, we're going to A&E. It was an awful night. It was raining. He went in. They said, you'll have to wait outside. They went, what? He said, you'll have to wait outside.
They wouldn't let him in.
Yeah. And they had to wait in the car outside. And an hour later, a nurse came out and said, right, you can come in now. And he was struggling to breathe, And this is what annoys with these people that just bang on about, let's get back to normal. Boris Johnson's an idiot. Boris Johnson's responsible for everything. Well, how is he responsible for everything? He's trying to do his best to protect that NHS. And that's and that's the message.
Exactly. And also, let's be fair. I mean, again, I don't really want to do politics, but there's stuff that needs to be expressed and talked about. And I like talking about Boris. I personally think he's doing great under the circumstances. But take a look at this man. He wanted, his whole ambition all his life was to be prime minister. He finally becomes prime minister. First job, he's got to deal with his Brexit. All that. I mean, all that. And then he deals with that. And then what happens? We get a pandemic. So I think that under the circumstances, he's done great. He's doing great. Yeah, obviously, there's been mistakes made. He's, no one's denying that. But then again,
nobody knows what they're dealing with, do they? At the time, nobody knew what they were dealing with.
It's like, it's a first, isn't it? It's a first for everything. First pandemic in our time, first Brexit in our time. Everything is a first. So it's a kind of like playing it by ear, if you like. They're just dealing with it day by day, week by week, month by month. There's so many.
And don't forget, at the same time, Boris had coronavirus as well.
And so did his partner.
He became a father. All in that, what it's like,
So much. I mean, I bet now he's saying to himself, I wish I never took on this job.
Yeah. Who'd want his job at this moment in time?
Exactly.
Nobody.
No one. But then you get all these people out there who think they could do it better.
Well, the other thing, like I say, I've seen this, and another thing that annoys me, and I've had debates with people about it. These people that criticise, they're so quick to criticise, yet not one of them have got a solution or how they would do it differently. They're great shouting it from the rooftops and slagging him off and the government off, but not one of them can come up with alternative.
It's a bit like football supporters, isn't it? Sitting in the crowd, shouting at their players in their team, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly the same.
Same thing. They've all got just all full of mouth. I mean, as I said, all those people now who I thought I really knew, I've actually blocked them from my Facebook because they were bombarding me. And I didn't want to get into arguments with people that I'd previously had a good relationship with and liked. So I thought, you know what, block them. I don't want to say, I mean, not block them from Facebook, but there's a way you can just block their comments.
Unfollow them.
Yeah, that sort of thing. You know, I've had to, because I've had to learn to be very much calmer. Because I'm also like you, transparent, expressive. And I can be up for an argument easy. You know, if you really pee me off, I won't be quiet. But saying that, I will be now, because I've learned not to do it. It's just not worth it. It's just, Facebook is just not worth it. You know, because no matter what I say or you say, you're not going to change the views of ignorant people. If you're ignorant, you're ignorant.
You can't. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
It's as simple as that. And all these, you know, obviously, I will say the word far leftists, but I was going to say, I won't say that word, but all those people that don't support Boris and support the other side, you know, what are you going to hear from them constantly? They're just going to run the government down non-stop.
That's all they do.
Right.
I like that.
All they do, but with nothing constructive in its
place. Exactly.
You know, it's awful. Anyway, enough talking about this. We've had enough of it for the last 14 months. Let's go back to you and talk about, I mean, how did you start you've told the story about Billy Joel, we know that, but how did you start in the music industry?
I always wanted to be either a guitarist or a drummer when I was a kid, and that never happened. And my sister had a really bad accident when she was 10-year-old. Came off a bike, and I mean, she's okay and she survived, you know, but it was touch and go for a while with her. Anyway, when she came out of hospital, my dad bought her a Bontempi organ. Remember the Bontempis out of Woolworths? £25 it cost. I mean, awful sound now when you think back. Awful. You know, the dreaded Bontempi.
But and we all had them.
Yeah, we had it. We must have had it about, I don't know, 12 months, something like that. And then just one night, she used to have it in her bedroom. I'd never shown any interest. And I thought, she was out. I thought, I'll have a go on this thing, you know. And it was played by numbers, if you remember. They had numbers on the keys.
Yeah, I remember.
And she got this book, and I said, and I just found it relatively easy, you know, to grasp it. I thought, actually, that's quite easy. And then flipped the page, played another one. And then the next day, I just found it quite natural just to play these tunes. And that was it. And then I think I was about 12 at the time. And then my dad went and bought a bigger, I can't remember what make it was now, a big, like another organ. And we were like, okay. And then we bought a 2 manual one with bass pedals and all that. And I just picked it up really quick and started taking private lessons. And then I started working in pubs after 9 months of playing. I were doing these pubs, you know. And then at 15, I was like out 6 nights a week, just doing pubs and clubs. And I started backing out, you know, and then
so you've done your apprenticeship, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. And then I was backing artists at 14 in clubs on a weekend and playing the old Hammond C3 and things like that. And it just went from there. And then I started on the piano at 15. I didn't start piano till I was 15. And then I went to music college and concentrated more on piano keyboards then and synths and things. And then did my first summer season at 17. And it's just gone from there. Yeah.
So how did you become Joe Longthorne's MD?
I met Joe many years ago. My ex-wife was doing a summer season with him in 1998 at North Pier. And we went to a stage party in Blackpool, and she introduced me to him. And lovely man, you know, nice to meet you, Joe. And I asked what I did. I said, I'm a keyboard player, piano player. All right. I said, I've got a studio. I've got a studio. I said, oh, have you got a card? I said, yeah. Anyway, I give him my card. What do you do in your studio? I said, oh, I do backing tracks and things like that. All right, okay. Anyway, a few days later, I get this phone call. Is that Andy Mudd? Yeah. So-and-so here from North Pier, Blackpool. Ringing on behalf of Joe Longthorne. I said, yeah. Any chance you could come down one evening and have a meeting with Joe? I want to discuss a couple of things with you. I said, yeah, okay. So I think we arranged it for the following night. Anyway, I went to see the show, and they had a girl singer on the show, and her backing tracks were awful. You know, she were working to backing tracks. So I saw the show, went backstage afterwards, met Joe, had a glass of champagne with him, and he says, right, babes, do you think you could do anything with them tracks? I said, what do you mean? He said, can you redo them for me? I said, yeah, I'm sure I can. Great. So that was the initial introduction to Joe. So I redid the tracks for this girl. Everybody was happy, great. And then I got a call about 18 months later to go on tour with him. And at the time, I couldn't do it. It was through a mutual friend of ours, Pat Manstein, who used to own the Queen's Hotel in Blackpool. She rung me up, and then I had a meeting, and I had too much on at the time, so I couldn't do it. And then a couple of years later, I get another call from Pat, and Joe had just got a bar in Blackpool called the Cold Tavern. I went to a meet-up with him there, and then I think it was initially to do some work in the bar, you know, one of them. And then when he saw me again, it was like, what are you doing? And I said, do you want to come on tour with me? Do you want to be my MD? I went, yeah, okay. And it went from there. So that was way back in 2000.
Unbelievable.
2001, yeah. And we've had that relationship ever since.
What was it like working for Joe, though?
Really good, yeah, because we became very close friends, as you know. We became like family, me and Joe. We had that sort of father-son relationship. And we had I've got great memories of the times we had together. The best thing about working with Joe was we never did the same show twice. And that's what I liked about him. We'd know the first 3 or 4 songs we were going to do. And then it was every man for himself. And it kept you on your toes. Because I find if you're doing the same show every night, I can get bored pretty easily, you know. And you're thinking, oh, God, this bit's coming up. I don't like this bit, you know. Where with Joe, it was like, and being the MD, Joe used to act his word divvy on stage. It was just his persona, act a bit divvy. And because he loved comedy, did Joe. You know, not always a great singer, an impressionist, but he loved comedy and he had great comedy timing. So he used to act a little bit daft. And I became like the straight man with him to try and.
He was his stooge, really.
Stooge, yeah, to bring him back in line and feed him the lines, and you know, and we had. So that was the interesting bit with him, and that's the bits I really enjoyed. That, you know, I mean, he's had me and the band, you know, literally belly laughing on stage just because of his timing, you know, and then he looks at us a lot, then he'll start having a laugh, you know, and that was the good thing. So that was the best thing about it. Never the same show twice with him. Right. And we always had to be, especially me as the MD, had to be on our toes because I had to not only keep Joe in tow, but the band as well. Yeah. So you could never go into autopilot.
I was lucky enough to work with Joe a few times, going back in the 80s. I used to be in the BBC orchestra myself and 2 other girl singers. We were 7 years in the BBC orchestra. So, you know, when Joe did shows for the BBC, it was always us that did the BBs. And then a bit later on, we did, I think it was Caesar's Palace in Luton and all these clubs, you know, stuff like that. So I was gobsmacked when he died, because for me, like you were probably. For me, it was like, this legend has gone. This great talent. I mean, the voice. I remember working with him, and or even when I wasn't working with him, when I was just a punter in the crowd, or when he did my bar in Spain, you know, you were mesmerized. He would open that mouth, and I'd give you a little funny story. We'd been in the car, we'd gone to dinner somewhere, I can't remember, Orange Square, Marbella, wherever it was. Me, David, Jamie, Joe. And Jamie sat in the front with Dave, and I sat in the back with Joe, and he was listening to some tracks from one of my new albums that Dave and I had been doing, and he started singing along. And when he sang along in the car, he had this little voice. You know, he was singing along, and saving his voice, obviously. But then we'd got that next night, I think, I wonder if he's got a cough or a cold or something, because he wasn't powerful in the car. And then I was a bit concerned. But then the following night he did the gig. Oh, you know, he was there.
Yeah.
And he opened that mouth, and I've never heard so much power. The power that came out of, and he was not well at the time, as you know.
I know.
So that power come from somewhere deep up, and it just, I mean, unbelievable. I still say he's one of the best male vocalists to come out of the UK ever.
Oh, like I said, he's just a unique talent, Joe. He knew how to look after his voice as well. He never did great vocal warm-ups as such. You know, Joe's warm-up, but would literally a minute or two before he was on stage, he'd just do a that'd be it. That'd be it. Open the lungs up and then walk on, and then do an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute show.
I know. It's amazing.
Yeah. But it was always
talent.
It was always very complimentary, Joe. Joe loved originality, and you know, he had this knack of seeing talent within people. You know, I've never heard him slag anybody off. You know, Joe was very much, you know, if nothing nice I said, don't say anything. But he was always very, very complimentary with people if they showed a bit of originality.
He tried to be, didn't he?
Yeah.
He tried
all
to be.
the time.
I mean, I remember, it's very contradictory to what you just said, but I think that was part of Joe's, you know, he was a natural comedian as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
We was in Spain, and we were invited to the Marriott Hotel. They had a live singer on there, which I won't mention his name.
Yeah.
But the live singer was singing, and he wasn't very good, to be honest. And he'd invited us. So there was Joe, Jamie, me, David, Jimmy Riley, a couple of other guys. And we're sitting at this front table. He put us on the front table, really close to him. So you couldn't really say much, even if you didn't like it, because you were too close.
Yeah.
You could hear everything he said. Anyway, he did his first set, and then the interval came. So he came down to Joe and he said, "Hi, Joe, I hope you're enjoying it." He said, "My mum and dad are here, actually. They've flown in from England to come to this show tonight." He said, "Can I introduce you to my mum and dad? They're fans." And you know what Joe was like? Yeah, of course. He said, "I'm just going to go out and have a fag." So we came out the back, had a fag with me and Dave. And then he said, "Right, I'm going to go in and meet this guy's mum and dad." So he goes in with the singer, goes over to the mum and dad. And they were very proud of their son, you know.
Yeah.
So they say to Joe, "So what did you think of blah, blah, blah?" He said, yeah, very, very good. And they said, "All those songs that he sings, you know, he's just sung like 20 odd songs. It's amazing. He remembers all the words. Don't you think it's great? He's done well remembering all those words." And Joe said, "It's fantastic that he remembers all those words. All he's got to do now is learn how to sing them."
Yeah, that was Joe. Yeah, that was Joe.
But they didn't realize it was a joke. They were deadly serious. But you know, we were killing ourselves laughing. He was just very. He joked, but very, very tactile and very. You know, he was bang on with whatever he did. You know, we loved him dearly.
Yeah.
He bought us this big, amazing olive tree, right? Which is on our terrace in our home in Spain, and that olive tree we treasure. You know, it was from Joe and Jamie.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to keep going on about Joe, and I'm sure you don't, because we know he was loved by many who worked with him, his fans, and he will continue to sell records because he's got so many fans. It's as simple as that. And we're all going to be doing this show in
Yeah.
September. Please God, you know, if
Yeah.
it's allowed. If it's allowed.
I'll just say one more thing about Joe, what I liked. It never liked falseness, Joe.
No, he
And he
didn't.
hated the word act. You know, he hated that word act because Joe's outlook on everything, especially as a performer, was be honest to yourself.
Yeah.
Go on stage and be yourself. You know, and I always took that on board, and I thought, at first I was like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about. But if you look at Joe, that's why he came across so warm on stage, because he never put an act on.
No.
He was himself. He'd say what he
him.
wanted. It was him. He'd make it up as he went along, as he felt things, you know. He used to say to me, you know, I was always 3 songs ahead of him, for example. So he'd come to me and go, what's next? What should we do next? And I used to always, I had a good knack of like balancing the show out with him. And I could read his moods. So I'd say a song, and 9 times out of 10, he'd go along with me. Yeah, do that one. But every now and again, I'd say a song, and he'd go, no, I'm not feeling that yet. And then I'd throw another one at him. And usually within the second one, he'd go, yeah, let's do that one. You know what I mean? So I always had 2 or 3 songs lined up because, you know, I had to do. But I love that honesty about him that, you know, I remember somebody went to him one night, oh, Joe, you're a great actor. He went, I'm not an actor, I'm Joe. You know, and he just stop him in the tracks like that. And they go, what? Is that? I'm not an act. I'm Joe Longthorne. Well, I'm Joe. You know, all right. Well, yeah, I'm just saying, Joe, you know, well, yeah. And he goes, what do you do? And then somebody say, well, I'm a singer or I'm a comedian. All right, great. Well, just be yourself. Don't be an act. Be yourself. Be honest.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that about him.
He was very wise, wasn't he, as well? That's
yeah.
what we're saying. But then again, you know, he'd done it for such a long time, you know.
Yeah.
Again, the word, I always use that word, he did his apprenticeship. It was a true, what I call a true pro. Simple as
Joe's favourite stories, when we used to reminisce about things, Joe's face used to light up more and he got more pleasure. You think what he's done more variety shows.
Yeah.
He's topped the bills at the Albert Hall, the London Palladium. He's done Sydney Opera House. You know, I was lucky to travel all over the world with him. I've been to Australia, Las Vegas, Miami. We've done Cyprus. We've done cruise ships, the Caribbean, Singapore, Hong Kong. Been everywhere with him. Joe's favourite stories always used to be of the old days in the clubs when he was starting out and the characters that he met. And he's telling me about his dad taking him around the clubs when he was 14 and 15 and the scrapes that they got into. You know, when he started out doing pontins and things like that, he got more satisfaction and joy out of telling those stories than he ever did about talking the time he did Des O'Connor with Whitney Houston. You know what I mean? Or the Raw Variety Show in front of the Queen, you know, or London Palladiums with Shirley Bassey and Tom Jones. He got more joy out of telling stories about his old club days and pontins days. And that was the nice thing about him.
But that was who he was, wasn't it?
That was Joe, yeah.
Honest.
Yeah, lovely. Honest, yeah.
That was who he was. He was a wonderful.
Yeah.
What does the future have in store for Andy Mudd?
I've learned through this that online could be the way forward. Yeah, I've learned that. So I'm going to look at doing more, getting more of an online presence and doing things. And now I know that you've got an online PR company. I'll be speaking to you.
With pleasure.
Yeah. So I think I've learned through this, like I say, getting more of an online presence. At the moment, I'm involved in a company, and we've got an 80s show that tours,
Right.
called
Great.
80s Live, and it's a great show, great cast, and we do theatres, corporates with it, and we was really busy with it. And this last year would have really taken off, but obviously everything's been put back now. So hopefully, provided everything goes to plan, we should be kicking that back in about September, October time. And also now for the same company, we're doing a 90s show to next year alongside the 80s. So I've got to put all the click tracks together. Because they initially came to me to do the click tracks for the 80s. And then we had another meeting. They said, look, do you want to come and MD it? And I said, yeah. And this was while they knew I was working with Joe at the time. And then unfortunately, only a few months after, Joe sadly passed away. So, it freed me up to do the 80s. And I really enjoy it because, I've got a keytar and everything. The keytar comes out, 80s attire, but it's great music. The 80s, it was so intricate when you actually sit down, the bass lines.
Yeah.
When you listen to it, it was
for me, my era was the 70s and the 80s,
Yeah.
And when we go out as Soulstorms, that's all we do. And you know what? It's amazing that people are going to love that, what you're doing, because when you go to, you did a lot of stuff performing at weddings and functions and stuff like that. And we'd say, what stuff do you want? We're Soulstorm. We can do whatever you want. But, and they used to say, all the disco stuff, all the Earth, Wind and Fire stuff, that's all people want. And it's feel-good music. It's feel-good music, that stuff.
We have people coming to
beats it.
No, we have people coming to the show and they've got leg warmers on and headbands and, the Wham t-shirts, Choose Life, and they get dressed up and it's a real good feel 2-hour show.
Brilliant.
We've got little medleys in there. We've covered all the spectrum. Listen,
you have to keep me informed when these shows are actually going to happen, because we'll talk about them on Let's Talk, so everybody knows so they can go and see them and what's happening with you.
But they are a good show, and like I said, we've got this 90s show now to look at. I've just got the set list through the other week for that. So we've got to do a promo in a few months to obviously get that out.
Yeah,
and then that's for 2022, So things are looking good.
Good.
For next year, things are looking later on this year and next year with the two shows, and they've asked me to oversee everything.
I'm looking forward to seeing you soon and doing the gig with you in September.
Yeah. Look forward to that. Yeah, of course we will.
It's going to be brilliant. Yeah. It's going to be a great night. Obviously COVID permitting.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see, but I'm sure if there's a will, there's a way. Or as Joe would say, if there's a will, there's a relative.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, my darling, we're running out of time.
Well, it's been great to see you.
I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, reminiscing about Joe and the music industry, and we've put the world to rights, haven't we, as well?
We have, love. We have, yeah. Like I say, we're on the same page most of the time.
Absolutely, definitely. Definitely.
And give my love to Dave, won't you?
I sure will, sweetheart. And we hope to see you soon. So everyone,
I'm going to say when we can, you'll have to have come over and have a day in Blackpool or something, and
we will
give me a shout, and we'll get together and go for a meal, and we'll put the world to. I look forward to that. Look forward to it.
And we haven't turned the air blue yet, have we? I was really worried about that, because when I talk about COVID and people and Facebook and politics, normally, I've got a blue background, but normally it's even bluer. But I was so proud of myself today speaking to you that I was really careful with what I said.
Yeah, the thing is, like I say, I think, if you've got common sense, that's the key here. And I've realised there's a lot of people in this country that don't have a lot of common sense. And that's been the key through all this,
Absolutely.
Use your common sense, be positive, but also at the same time, be a realist.
And just don't think everything's a conspiracy.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Because it isn't. Anyway, Andy, thank you so much for talking with me.
You're welcome, Lovey.
Please come back again in the
course I
future
will.
when all these shows
Course
are
I will.
ready, and we
Yep.
can talk about them on Let's Talk again. Yeah.
Definitely.
Everybody, thank you to Andy Mudd for spending some time with us.
Thanks,
on Let's
darling.
Talk. See you soon. Bye.
See you, darling. Bye, love.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Silverstone Media PR. We are an online social media PR company. We have over 20 years experience in this field, offering you the maximum exposure that you could possibly get on all the online social media platforms, including our very own TV show, Let's Talk. If you'd like online PR and would like to talk to one of our team, please email ssm.pr@hotmail.com or call us on 07919 954 636.